we learned maybe in grammar about having a topic sentence for every paragraph. Go ahead and have one purpose per slide, or have elements that have a purpose and then a purpose and another purpose building up a slide, which we've all talked about, but I'll show you that again just to remind you. One purpose, one slide is my general rule. There are times to break that, but generally that's what I try to follow. Mainly I push it so extreme because we are so guilty of doing 10 purposes per slide. So you can get away with 2 maybe or 3, but you start getting to so many purposes, it's just hard for audience to follow along. I'll keep going with this review. So as you just saw, as it hinted ahead, we're comprehension to maximize that. Again, if you're doing an overview, especially for a presentation that the audience is not very familiar with, using bullets in the affirmative case, being affirmative with them, making them positive is sort of the guideline they recommend, and making it active in an active verb voice. 4 plus or minus 1 bullets is sort of the general rule. You can break that occasionally, especially if you're building in the elements one by one, like I am here. I could go to 10, but it just gets busy. It gets busy, and also when you get to the bottom of the slide, we talked a little bit last week, if there's someone ahead of you, in front of you who's 6'3" and you can't see over their head, you'll miss the bottom 2 bullets. Or in an auditorium style or theater style, you may be just, especially for us shorter people, you may just have trouble seeing the bottom of the slide. So it's nice to keep them towards the top with 3 or 4 as 5 instead of 8 or 9. You can argue here if pitchman is appropriate or not, but the idea is to have, if you do have an image, make sure it sort of fits the theme and emphasizes what you're talking about. This is the one I cut down. Last week it was a long paragraph. I still will go ahead and read it with you. Use bullets for a variety of reasons. It helps you avoid the urge to read the slides. In this case, we will go ahead and use Times New Roman. We stop with the audience and we read along with them. So charts, graphs, and tables. We saw this last week. This would be not a terrible slide, but it is kind of a lot to take in, especially if you've never seen this before. What do these 2 slides have to do with each other? In fact, they're actually the same data. They're just presented a different way, which you don't really get necessarily until you study it for a couple minutes. You realize, that's 5 something, and that's 5 something in green. So the green and red are actually the same. But you may not get that right away. So what I recommend is show this graph first, walk people through it, then show them the yellow one. And then if you need to or want to, then you can show how the 2 are related. That's just a simple example of the one at a time element concept we talked about. So again, last thing really on graphs and all this is avoiding 3D. It's sort of the general recommendation. This is much easier to understand overall if you're trying to get an exact number for somebody than that. It's harder just to tell, especially those red ones in the back. The texture here is redundant, but it kind of helps, especially if this could actually end up being printed in black and white. And then, again, I recommend not blasting someone with this. You might blast them with this as an overview, and then you do this concept where this is extreme again, but you show them elements one at a time. This is very extreme, but you might show them, okay, we're going to talk about a graph now. Here it comes. Here's the bottom axis. Here's the side axis. Okay, and here's my values. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. This is, again, an extreme example. This could be done with bullets. This could be done with images. This could be done with logos. It could be done with a variety of things, but in this case, I just do it with a bar graph. You look like you have a question. No? Okay. And then again, with Series 2, you would just remind them, oh, by the way, Series 2 is XYZ. It means this. In this case, I went ahead and used the red polka dots. And here's the first value, and a 2.5 means blah, blah, blah. And you compare that to the blue if that's appropriate, or it might be a separate thing you're talking about completely. You might talk about trend, how it looks like it's going up. Oh, now it's down, now it's back up. So I don't know, the average is still about 2.5, for example. So then, instead of blasting them with this at the beginning, you've kind of built the argument. This could take 10 minutes, either way. If you do one like this at the beginning and you walk through it piece by piece, they can get it, but building it up element by element might actually be easier and maybe less time to explain something that's complicated. And then again, there's the example of black and white. You can still generally tell, it's not as good, but you can tell that the polka dots are polka dots and the other ones are not. And you can do this various ways. You could make the polka dots just clear, white, if you wanted to. There's a little more. We'll take a little break here, but we'll go ahead into the makeovers next. I just want to get a quick drink of water, and then we'll come back with some review of the slide makeover and jump into your examples.